Hello, I'm Tim Brackett with the Good Boy Sports Channel. We're just getting our channel kicked off. We have several things planned for later in this week and hopefully lots more to come. But tonight I want to talk about the golf game, my golf game in particular, and what exactly is in my bag, what kind of equipment I like, and just a little bit about my game. I'm currently a 7.2 handicap. I'm probably as good as I've ever been. I started playing golf when I was in my early 20s. I'm now in my mid 50s, and I feel like Father Time is coming for me. So I feel like it won't be too long before I'm going to be losing some distance and probably not able to do some of the things that I'm able to do now. So just going to hang on to that for as long as I can. And just keep playing this game. It's a game for a lifetime. I think you can play it. Hopefully, well into my 60s and 70s. But we'll see about that. So let's talk about what's in the bag. We'll talk about the equipment and the bag itself. Just some of the things I prefer. And I encourage you guys to send me your what's in the bag videos if you like. Golf nerd, like to talk about golf. First off, we'll start with the driver. I've got an older model Callaway Epic Speed driver. I've had this in the bag for maybe 3 or 4 years now. It's adjustable, of course, like most are these days. It's a 10.5 degree loft driver. Typically, I mean, I'm still hitting the ball 270, 280. Occasionally, if I, once a round or every couple of rounds, I'll catch one, and hit it out there in that magical 300 number. So still can do that occasionally. Probably accuracy wise, I would say I'm probably, if I'm hitting the driver well, I'm going to hit, maybe 60%, 70% of the fairways. There are still days where I'm going to lose, a handful of balls off the tee. And going back to the handicap discussion, I think maybe a lot of people think that if you're a 7 handicap, you're shooting a whole bunch of 79s, some 78s, some 79s, maybe an 80. And that's not really true because that's not the way a handicap works. For those of you that don't know, a handicap really is a measure of your potential, it's not an average. So it really weights things more on your better rounds. So your handicap, so my 7 handicap, I'm only breaking 80, maybe a handful of times a year. So I'm generally in that, low 80s, mid 80s range, and maybe a few times a year I'll break 80. And generally when I do, it's a 78, 79. My biggest weakness by far is my putter. Always has been. So I have some buddies I used to play golf with back in North Carolina, and there was the course we played on had a drivable par 4, and occasionally I would drive it on or close. And the joke was always that if I could drive it on the green, I could probably make a par from there. So, the 3-putt jokes always in play there. So shout out to Fate and Brian, one of my old buddies that passed recently. So so putting never a strength. So talk about the driver just a little bit. Now there is something a little different about this driver and non-standard, but I'm going to come back to that in a different video because it's a little bit of a story, and I don't want this video to get too long. So we'll go straight down to the putter, and I'll go back from there. But I recently bought this putter. I'm always in search of anything that's going to help me on the green because, like I say, I'm not a very good putter. But this was a relatively new model a few months ago. This Even Roll putter. It's the 38 Tour spec. It's really it's a 38-inch putter. So it's not technically, one of the anchor style putters or whatever, but it's made so that you could choke down the grip. So I personally like mine a little bit shorter. So I choke down the grip. but I also thought I would play around with maybe standing a little more upright. So that's the old Rife putter. That was renamed with that little insert, the old grooved insert face. It's supposed to get the ball started rolling end over end, sort of that hugging the ground sort of action that you like to see with your putter. When I, for the first month or so that I had this, I was holding some putts, and I thought really that was going to be a big game changer for me. But recently it's gone again. So um, still constant, you know, constant working um, in motion there. So that's the putter. Um, I have wedges from Wilson. So I've got the 50 and the 56 and the 60, the staff model wedges. I really fell in love with the kind of the satin finish on those. And I've been gaming these for several years now. And I really love the feel off of those. Um, uh, I'm not a real technician as far as it comes to bounce and how much bounce is on the club. So I just sort of took kind of the middle of the road bounce when I bought these wedges. And when COVID happened a few years ago, I really started focusing on the short game, my wedges and stuff. Specifically, you know, that 30 yards and in, chipping around the green. And I feel like I've come a really long way with that. And I feel like that's probably why I'm better now than I've ever been because I did that work. And we'll talk more about that too. We'll have a kind of my journey when it came to chipping and pitching, and we'll talk about maybe what I think I know at this point, um, and kind of how I play the short game stuff now. My irons are the Strixon ZX7s, and I have 4 through pitch and wedge there. And again, that ZX7 is a I guess they call it the player's distance iron. So they're forged. So you know they're really that forged um, makeup is really for feel. So you know you get that good feedback. Whether well, I say good, it's either good or bad. But I want it regardless. I like the feedback because you know you kind of know where you've missed it, and you know the good ones feel really good. To me, a cast club, so 2 different kinds of ways to manufacture an iron. A cast, which is out of a mold, and forged is more or less a solid piece of steel or whatever material they're using that they hammer into shape. So to me, the forged just feels better. I just like that better. And but there's a good bit of forgiveness in there too. So it's not like a blade. So that player's distance is what they call that iron. So you've got some of that forgiveness and some of that extra distance built in there. So and distance wise, I feel like I've got basically a 10-yard gap between my irons. And to give you guys an idea, I generally game my 9 iron at about 150 yards. So then the pitch and wedge would be 140, and the 8 iron would be 160. I get my 7 iron 170. If I catch it real good, 175. But you guys know how that goes if you play golf. So uh, that's the irons, and I also have a 5 wood. I put a 5 wood in the bag recently to kind of cover the gap. One of the golf courses we play has a couple of you know layup par fours, trying to avoid some trouble. Um, on some of those, and that's a. There's also a story. So after I changed out my driver shaft, I actually kind of opted for a similar Strixon shaft here, and it's not what anybody would ever fit me for. So, but it was just sort of a, and I don't normally do it, but it's just sort of a technical journey that I went on, and I fell in love with the shaft, the new shaft that I put in that driver. So when I ordered the Strixon or the 5 wood, I got sort of the same bend profile is what I've heard some of the technicians call it. So that's what I've got in here, and I'll do a separate video on those shafts and why I'm playing those, and sort of what the results have been. So that's the clubs. I also have a Bushnell laser rangefinder that I use some, if I really want to know where that pin's at. A lot of times though, I'm using my watch, and I'll have a separate video about this watch that I bought recently. So it's the Garmin S70, and it's pretty amazing. And we'll go more into that later too. I like my all-time favorite golf ball, Titleist Pro V1. I just feel like, I just feel like I play that better than anything. But my number two ball's at Srixon Z Star. So I've got a lot of Srixon Z Stars in there. Um, and the bag itself is that Sun Mountain C130. It's the cart bag, so no legs on this one. I really love this one for the cart because it has the extra straps on the back. One of my pet peeves is when you're playing golf and the bag twists around on the cart. I'm always trying to straighten it up. Just a little pet peeve of mine. But those extra cart straps back here attached to the back of the back bar on the cart and keep the bag straighter. Of course, it has the cart sleeve, for the cart strap to go through the bag and hold the bag on there. But those straps in the back just really help keep it straight on the cart. And I've gone through a couple of bags of C130s. I've had several different models of that one. But I've also sort of played around, and at one point I bought a vessel bag, sort of the high-end leather type bag. Just the organization I wasn't crazy about. And then recently I bought a Ghost Golf leather bag. Like I say, one of the more premium high-end bags with the leather kind of material on it. And I just felt like that one didn't sit on the cart great. So ended up back with the Sun Mountain C130 bag, and just really, really love those. So that's pretty much it for my what's in the bag and a little bit about my golf game. So you guys feel free to share some of your golf equipment, what you like, what you don't like, what you've tried maybe. Share it with me, and maybe I'll post some of those on our channel. Anyway, thanks for watching, you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe.